Hi everyone, today I am here with lesson number 6 from class 12, Poets and Pancakes. Now this lesson is an excerpt taken from Ashoka Mitran's book, My Years with Boss. In this book, he talks about Gemini Studio where he worked and he gives us different aspects of this studio. This studio was set up in 1940 in Chennai and the founder was S.S. Vasan. Ashoka Mitran starts by talking about a makeup brand named Pancake. Now this brand, Pancake, was used by many actresses because it's an old brand. Like Greta Garbo must have used it, Miss Gauhar, Vaijayanti Mala. All the new actresses like Rati Agnihotri may not have even heard about it. So it's an old brand and it used to come to Gemini Studio in truckloads for this makeup department. Now this makeup department was located in the upstairs of a building which was earlier Robert Clive's stable. So that building has been converted. Now Clive has lived in many buildings in Madras and he has done a lot of moving. He has fought some impossible battles and he has also married a girl in St. Mary Church in Fort St. George, which is in Madras. Now let's see how is this makeup room. Now this makeup room look more like a hair cutting salon. It has lot of lights around it in all directions. So there were dozen large mirrors and this incandescent light causing misery to those wearing makeup. So this light used to torture all the people who were sitting to wear makeup. And at this place they would change decent looking people into hideous crimson hued monster. So they used to make people ugly instead of making them beautiful. Otherwise, we know that makeup can make person look presentable. But here they use all kind of pancake, potions, lotions, and they would make them ugly because for them ugly means presentable. And at that time, only 5% of the shooting would be done outside. So everything was shot inside the studio. And that is why they would use makeup to make people look ugly. Now in this makeup department, you will find national integration. Before even All India Radio or programs on Doordarshan started talking about national integration, it was found in this department. The department was headed earlier by a Bengali. He became too big for the studio and he left. Later on, it was headed by a Maharashtrian who was assisted by Dharwar Kannadiga, a man from Andhra. Then Madras Indian Christian, Anglo-Burmese, local Tamil. So it consisted of people from all over India. So you will find a great deal of national integration here. Now there was a strict hierarchy which was followed in the makeup department at Gemini Studio. Now the chief makeup man would make chief actors and actresses ugly. The senior assistant, he would make second hero or heroine ugly. And he humorously called putting makeup as making them ugly. Then junior assistant would do makeup of main comedian and other people. And there would be an office boy and he would mix paint in giant vessels and slap it on people in crowd to close their pores on faces. Ashoka Mitran gives us portrait of different people who were there at the studio and those were mainly poets of all kind, of all level. First there was this office boy who would paint the crowd. He was not a boy because he was a man in early 40s. He came here years ago to become a star actor or a writer or a director or a lyric writer. But he couldn't become any of these. He became an office boy. He's also a bit of a poet. He has faced many uncertain and difficult times because there were no firmly established firms or studio at that time. And this office boy would come to Ashoka Mitran and he would enlighten him. He would talk about great literary talent going waste in the department. He would give him long epics or lectures and Ashoka Mitran would only wish for crowd scenes because that can only save him from this office boy's lectures. And this office boy would be very angry on one person. And now this person believed that reasons of all his woes and ignominy and neglect is one person. And that person is Kothamangalam Subbu. But before that, let's talk about Ashoka Mitran. Now he would work in a cubicle and he had French windows on both sides of his cubicle. He would cut out newspaper clipping and store them in files. And people thought that he did nothing. And Ashoka Mitran feels that even his boss thinks the same. And people would come and they would deliver all kind of lectures to Ashoka Mitran as they found him free. Even Office Boy does the same. Now, this office boy would be very angry over one person, Subbu. Now, who is this Kotamangalam Subbu? His character sketch is very important. He is number 2 in Gemini Studio. He's part of story department. He had a good start than this office boy because he has received formal education. He's also a Brahmin and he has been exposed to nice affluent situation and people. So that is his advantage, and this is how he's different from this office boy. So he looks cheerful at all time. That means he's always happy. He has work for everyone, although he cannot do anything himself, but he finds work for everyone. He's tailor-made for films. This is important. That he's a perfect man for making films. He's very innovative and creative. He can give number of ways to enact a scene, and he also gave direction and definition to Gemini Studio during its golden year. Now, he has a separate identity as a poet also. He wrote for masses, and critics felt that his success has been dwarfed by his literary achievement. That means he's good as a poet, but he has become more successful in films. He composed short story poems, and he has also written a novel, Thilana Mohanabia, and which is about the Devdasis of the 20th century. He's also an amazing actor. He played many subsidiary roles. Then he's very charitable, very generous, improvident, and dozens of relatives and acquaintances would live at his place during that time. This person, although he has so many good qualities, still had enemies. Now, Ashoka Mitran is trying to find out the reason for having these enemies. Now, according to him, he might have enemies because he's very close to boss, and maybe because his appearance and his behavior is like a sycophant. Maybe because he has this ability to say nice things about everything and he's very nice with others. That is why he had enemies. There was another person who was part of this story department, and this person is this lawyer. He's the legal advisor there, but in reality he's opposite of being legal. He's responsible for finishing the career of a brilliant actress. So once this actress got very angry and blurted out, and this lawyer recorded whatever she said. And when she stopped, he played the recording for her. And she was a country girl. She was so shocked. She could not recover from this. That day, her career got over. This brief and brilliant acting career, because of this lawyer, it finished. The other members of the Gemini Studio would wear a kind of uniform, and they would wear a khadi dhoti with a khadi shirt. But this legal advisor, he wore pants and a tie, and his coat looked like the coat of mail. And he wanted to look very secular, and that is why he would do that. He would look helpless. He was a man of cold logic. He was very neutral. He was neither a Gandhiite or a Khadiite. And he produced a film, but it flopped. And since he was part of the story department, when the boss decided that he would close the story department, and for the first time a lawyer lost his job because the poet had gone home. This is how he sums up the character of lawyer. Now, if we look at the other aspects of Gemini Studio, it was also a poet's haunt, and you will find poets like S.D.S. Yogyar, Sangu Subramaniam, Krishna Shastri, Harindranath Chattopadhyay, a part of it. And this place had an excellent mess which served good coffee. Because there was this prohibition going on, that means you cannot have alcohol at that time because of this Congress rule, coffee meetings were very satisfactory. They would meet over a cup of coffee, and mostly everybody showed leisure at that time because that is very necessary for poetry. That is a pre-requirement, an important requirement for poetry. They wore khadi, they would worship Gandhiji. They didn't have any kind of political thought, and they hated communalism. According to them, who is a communist? A communist is a godless man. He has no filial or conjugal love. There is no compunction, and he is able to kill his parents also. According to them, it causes unrest and violence among innocent people. So this was the idea of communist for everyone. Moral rearmament army came to Gemini Studio, and it was headed by Frank Buckman, and it came with 200 people in 1952. Someone called it an international circus, but they were not good at trapeze. They were only good at animals, and that too at dinner. That means it was not like a circus. And these people presented two plays basically, Jotham Valley and The Forgotten Factor. And 600 people of this Gemini studio would go and watch these plays again and again. And the message was very simple, but the costumes were first rate. They were very impressed by this sunrise and sunset scene, which they have later on used in Tamil plays for years. And they went away. Then later on, they came to know that they have actually come to Chennai because they represented a counter movement of international communalism. And Vasan, the boss, was only a kind of puppet in their hand. They used him. That did not change anyone. They were only happy to host people of 20 different countries because that was a change from normal. So they came to promote this counter movement against communalism, but it didn't change anyone at Gemini Studio. Now, Ashoka Mitran also talks about a poet's visit to Gemini Studio. There was a new visitor who was expected at studio, and people said that he was actually a poet from England. Somebody said an editor like their boss Vasan, because Vasan was also editor of Ananda Viketan, and that is why the boss is welcoming him. So this poet came, and he was not an editor of a famous British publication like Manchester, Guardian or London Times, which these people knew. So basically he was unknown to them. Nobody knew about him. So he came at 4 o'clock. He was very tall, serious. Boss gave the opening speech. Even the boss did not know anything about this poet. In his speech, there were words like freedom, democracy, but basically nobody knew anything about this poet. The audience was dazed. The poet was himself baffled because they were very silent. Nobody said anything. There was no reaction from the crowd. And his visit, why he came, what he spoke, even his accent was not understood by people. Nobody was able to understand. And his visit remained an unexplained mystery. Now, Ashoka Mitran, he talks about prose writing. He presents his views on prose writing. According to him, prose writing, which is opposite to poetry writing, is for patient, persistent and persevering people. And it is not a true pursuit of genius. And he does not mind rejection by people. So he would send copies of his prose writing to a number of editors, and he would also enclose a postage for return manuscript, that if they don't like it, they can return it back to him. So he would send his prose writing to different editors. Now one day, Hindu published a small advertisement. It was about short story writing contest organized by The Encounter, which was a British periodical. Now Ashoka Mitran, he wanted to send, but first he thought he must inquire about this periodical, The Encounter. So he went to British Council Library. He found some copies of The Encounter. He checked the name of the editor, and the name sounded familiar. And later on, struck him that this is the same person who had visited Gemini Studio, the same poet who remained an unexplained mystery. He was the one who was the editor of this Encounter. So he felt like he has found a long lost brother. And it's just like Indian films where the brother sings the same song in the beginning of the film, and towards the end when they meet, they sing that song again. In the same way, he felt that he would be singing this song, and on the other hand, the poet in Britain might be singing the same song. So he sealed the envelope, he wrote address very happily, and now he knew the name of the poet, and it was Stephen Spender. So now last part of this Poets and Pancake. Now here he talks about the God that failed. Now after many years, when he left the studio and he had lot of time but little money, he found a copy of a book called The God That Failed. It was on the footpath which was opposite Madras Mount Road post office. He found new books piles for just 50 paisa. So he got one copy which was published on the 50th anniversary of Russian Revolution. It contained essays of 6 writers on journey of communalism and their disillusioned return. Now, these poets were Andre Gide, Richard Wright, Ignacio Silon, Arthur Kollista, Louis Fisher and Stephen Spender. And the moment he heard the name Stephen Spender, suddenly this book became very important. And he now realized that why the poet reacted like this when he visited Gemini Studio, and his mystery did not remain a mystery now, because he realized that when he came to India and when he delivered a speech at Gemini Studio, he faced his disillusionment towards communalism. And he also realized that this poet has come to promote communalism, but he only got disillusionment. He also says that his boss has no concern for his poetry at that time or his god that failed. That means communalism. So this is the summary of Poets and Pancakes. I hope you like the explanation. Please like, share and subscribe. Thank you so much.